Por fin, we seize the time, free at last. Learn to love, live to fight, not just for me, but for others. Teach the new blood and live for freedom. I survived the COINTELPRO assassinations, AIDS epidemic, crack era fractured the nation. The interpretation of American democracy is best exemplified in its foreign policy dichotomy. I live a double life of political philosophy, but revolution follows me to struggle for equality against the morally bankrupt, claiming to be born again. It's a civil war again, like MS-13's origin. Ban ethnic studies claiming our culture will swallow them, but you can't conquer people and build a country on top of them, and then feel offended that they breathe the same oxygen. Your family values lack the wisdom of Solomon, but Operation Condor and Operation Bootstrap are poli-sci.
Shalom, Yeshua, Shalom, Israel. I want to start off by giving all honor, all praises, and all glory to the Most High God Yahweh, and we do so by Hamshyach Yhwhshi. That's in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. So I was out there doing the work. I was out there teaching, handing out flyers, and I was stressing to somebody that we're not in the new covenant yet, because they kind of like guide you in that direction. When you're telling them to keep the laws, then we'll say they're saying that we don't have to keep the law because that's the old covenant, and for some reason we typically usually go to saying that the old covenant, that we're still in the old covenant. But I think it came to mind that like we just show them that the Mosaic law has to be kept even in the new covenant, the one to come. And they might receive it. I doubt it, but but we just keep doing the same old thing. Just constantly. Oh, we're not in the old, and we're still in the old covenant. We better start showing them that the laws are going to be kept in the new covenant, the Mosaic law. So I'm going to start off by sharing my screen, right? All right, it's the book of Isaiah. Oh, one thing I forgot to tell you guys. Whenever don't ever let a Christian kind of keep you away from the quote unquote Old Testament, the books of the laws and the prophets, because even Christian scholars understand that there's a lot of prophecies inside of the old quote unquote Old Testament that haven't come to pass yet. So don't let them cage you in. If you're able to go with one hand tied behind your back and just stay in the new covenant, do it. You know what I mean? Because you want the least amount of arguments possible, right? But don't ever let them, if you feel like you have to go to the Old Testament, go to the Old Testament. Because there's things that haven't happened, and it's clear as day. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 56 and verse 6. Also the sons of the strangers that join themselves to the Lord to serve him, to love the name of the Lord, to be his servants, everyone that keepeth the Sabbath day from polluting it, and taketh hold of my covenant. So with this verse, it'll show you that the Sabbath are still being kept, because they love to say that the Sabbath was made for us, not us for the Sabbath, which is true. But doesn't mean that we're not supposed to keep the Sabbath and keep it sanctified, right? But also this verse tells you, it says, and taketh hold of my covenant. If you use this, they're more than likely gonna go and tell you like, hey, that's the Gentiles being grafted in, and now there's no ethnical hierarchy, like a racial hierarchy. So be prepared if you end up using this one, to show the Mosaic law being in the new covenant. Be prepared to either stand your ground and stick to the topic, or get ready to prove the hierarchy in the new covenant, right? But sticking to the topic, if you just go to the next verse, right? Verse 7, even them will I bring to my holy mountain and make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be accepted upon mine altar. For mine people shall be called in house of prayer for all people. Right? So that's sacrifices. They said all the sacrifices are done away with. We don't have to do them. We know that the sin offering for us has been done away with because YHWH, he's the ultimate sacrifice. Doesn't mean all sacrifices are done away with, right? And then the sin offerings would be for the other nations in the new covenant, right? Because we know that in the new covenant, Yasharallah, Israel, won't be sinning anymore, so we won't need the sin offering. We'll be doing the burnt offerings and Nazarites and all that. We'll be doing all that, but we're not going to be doing the sin offerings. So, and then it says it's a house of prayer to all people because everybody's going to come to us for knowledge, for wisdom, for everything. They're going to give us their gold, their riches. So yeah, staying in the same book, right? We got three chapters ahead, right? Isaiah chapter 6 and verse 7. It says, all the flocks of Kedar shall be gathered together unto thee. The rams of Nebaioth shall minister unto thee. They shall come up with acceptance of mine altar, and I will glorify the house of my glory. So they got more sacrifices coming our way, right? And like I said before, even Christians understand, most Christians will understand that this is all taking place in the millennial reign and the second coming of Christ. But, let's say 66 and 15. This is one of my favorite verses, chapters, points, because it shows one of the biggest things that Israel doesn't want to let go today. They don't want to let go of pork. They don't want to let go of eating abominable things. You know, because it's like they're disgusting things, but we make them taste pretty good, right? They gave it to us for slave food. You got lobster being prison food. You know, of course, pork being slave food. And we made it taste good. Now the whole world wants to eat it, right? But that's not the point. The point is, even in the new covenant, we're not going to be eating. We're not supposed to eat it. We're not going to be eating. There's the book of Isaiah, chapter 66, in verse 15. For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. Verse 16. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. So the second death that's coming is going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of death, a lot, like more than a lot of us are going to be able to manage. But it has to be done. The purging has to be done. Like the purging needs to be done, right? Verse 17. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh, and the abomination and the mouse shall be consumed together, saith the Lord. So they'll tell you that this is in the new covenant, in the millennial reign, right? And it's still saying that we're gonna die for eating. People will die for eating abominable things contrary to Leviticus 11, right? So let's go one more chapter. Oh, Slaki, no one more chapter. Let's go. I'm gonna skip a couple verses. Verse 19. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them unto the nations, to Tarshish, Pul, and Lud, that draw the bow, to Tubal, to Javan, to the isles afar off, that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my glory, and they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles. So this is literally the what you call it. This is the 1/3. So this is the ones of us, like let's say 144,000. Then you have the 2/3 that get burnt up, and then you're gonna have the 1/3. They're gonna go to the other nations and teach the Israelites in the other nations the law, because they haven't heard the glory and the fame that they're Israelites. They haven't heard the glory and the fame of Yahweh or YHWH. You know what I'm saying? Not properly. They obviously will more than likely have the Christian version of it, the Catholic version of it, the Mormons, and all that nonsense. But we're gonna give them the proper doctrine, right? Well, Lord willing, I'm not the 1/3. I'm the 144, but we're gonna be teaching them these things, right? So now we're gonna jump over to next verse 20. And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto the Lord out of all nations, upon horses and in chariots and in leaders and upon mules and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain Jerusalem, saith the Lord, as the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel into the house of the Lord. Verse 21. And I will also take of them for priests and for Levites, saith the Lord. One thing that this modern church, quote unquote, one thing that this modern church will tell you is that the Levitical priesthood is done away with due to the priesthood of Melchizedek. Right? The priest, the Melchizedek priesthood started off before the Levitical priesthood. Right? So it doesn't make sense how they say it. But what this is telling you, that in the end times, the Levitical priesthood is still in place. They're going to be bringing offerings to Levites, and they're going to continue and resume the temple work. They're going to resume their office. Right? Verse 22. For as the new heavens and the new earth, which doesn't mean a literal physical new heaven and new earth. It means rulership, right? This is now there's a new governing body. There's a new chief in town. There's a new hierarchy, right? We're on the bottom. Now we're back on top. For as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make, shall remain before me, saith the Lord, so shall your seed and your name remain. Right? So the seed is telling you that it's a lineage thing, it's a race thing. So don't ever let them tell you otherwise. They don't know what they're talking about. All right? Verse 23. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith the Lord. So that's another indication telling you that we're gonna have the new moon feasts, and we're gonna have the Sabbaths, and things are gonna resume back. Right now we don't have anything. Right now we're just wandering through the earth, waiting for the Savior. Right. But when it resumes, we have everything back in order. Let's jump to Jeremiah chapter 31 and 33. This is obviously one of my favorite chapters and verses to go to show them that we're not in the new covenant yet, but it also shows you that the laws will be kept. Right? Jeremiah 31 and 33. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. So if it's in our hearts, it's because we're going to be keeping the laws of God, the mosaic law. Okay. Let's jump to chapter 33, verse 16. Okay. So this is obviously a prophecy of the future. They'll tell you it's the Davidic kingdom, whatever, and it's already happened. But watch this. Jeremiah 33 and 16. In those days shall Judah be saved, and Jerusalem shall dwell in safety. And this is the name wherewith she shall be called, the Lord our righteousness. So we know that this hasn't happened yet because Judah hasn't dwelt in safety. Ever since the split of the kingdom, Judah's been going through it. The northern kingdom's been going through it. We've all been going through it. So this can't be talking about something that has happened because it hasn't happened yet. Right? Verse 30, verse 17. For thus saith the Lord, David shall never want a man to sit upon the throne of the house of Israel. Right? When you read it like that, they're gonna say like he's never gonna want somebody to sit on the throne, but it's talking about somebody being on the throne forever. Right? Because we know that when YHWH comes back, he's gonna have the throne forever. So David, right, is not gonna want because he's not gonna have to want because it's already gonna be fulfilled. It's already gonna be there. It's like having a plate of food. You got a plate of food. You don't want a plate of food because you already have a plate of food, and it's full, right? So, and it's gonna, and it's like a all you can eat buffet, and it's gonna keep coming. You're never gonna have to want that plate to be refilled because that seat is always gonna be filled, and it's YHWH Hamshyach, who the world calls Jesus. Verse 18. Right? Verse 18. Neither shall the priests, the Levites, want a man before me to offer burnt offerings and to kindle meat offerings and to do sacrifice continually. they're constantly going to have people doing the Levitical work. Same way Judah's going to have YHWH in the seat, the priests are going to consistently have somebody there. They're never going to want that position to be filled, because they'll have kids and they'll have Aaron's seed and going through, it's going to resume. The kingdom will resume and be better than before. When it's talking about continual sacrifices, I don't know if you see it right here, sacrifices being continually, it isn't necessarily only talking about sin offerings like I mentioned, right? It's talking about burnt offerings, voluntary offerings, was it free will? I think free will offerings. So people are gonna constantly be bringing things to get burnt up and to be cooked, and it's gonna consistently be happening. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel, 44, verse 9. It says, Ezekiel 44:9. Thus saith the Lord God, no stranger, uncircumcised in heart, nor uncircumcised in flesh, shall enter into my sanctuary of any stranger that is among the children of Israel. Once again, another prophecy of the future that hasn't happened yet, right? Because my sanctuary is what? The temple. And then it's talking about the uncircumcised in the heart. The Christians and Catholics, they say that the circumcision in the heart is something new. It's always been there. There's numerous times where the circumcision in the heart gets mentioned. And if you're not uncircumcised in heart, the circumcision of the flesh doesn't matter. Right? So make sure you're right on the inside before you start keeping the commandments. If you're not circumcised in the heart, you're not really keeping the commandments because you don't have love for your brother, you don't have love for your people. Just make sure you clean the inside as well as the outside. Don't just look good on the outside and then you're a piece of trash on the inside. Right? Let's go to verse 45 and 21. This is 21. Ezekiel 45 and 21 says, in the first month, in the 14th day of the month, ye shall have the Passover, a feast of 7 days, unleavened bread shall be eaten. So we know that, the Passover is going to be kept. The Passover is part of the Mosaic law, something that has to be done from generation to generation. Right? So that's just another feast day. Now it's a feast day being kept. We have the Sabbaths, we have the new moons mentioned, we have the sacrifices, we got the Levitical priesthood. Now we got the feast days, like the actual holy days. All right. Let's go to Micah 4:1. Peaceful latter days, peaceful end days. Micah 4:1. But in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it. So above the hills, that means we're going to be above everybody, right? Everybody's going to see us. The same way it mentions the Assyrians were a cedar in Lebanon, and everybody was in their shroud. Everybody was in their shadow. The same, that's how we're going to be, but even more so. All right, so we're going to be above everyone. Everyone's going to be able to see us. Verse 2. And many nations shall come and say, Come and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, and to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his path. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. So many times it's mentioned that the other nations are going to come and learn from us, but not only just any wisdom. Not no, it says right here the law, right? Specifically. So they're going to come. They're going to learn from us because the law is perfect. The other nations have had their try. They gave it their best shot, right, to try to rule things, and they failed miserably. They're failing miserably. You have a war as I'm recording this. You get in the land of Israel, they're at war right now. And they gave them specific amount of time to get out for the Ishmaelites to get out, or they're gonna body all of them, right? So they failed miserably. These people, they don't know what to do with themselves. They're tripping over themselves. The only thing that they have in common, the only thing that they can agree on, is that they hate the Israelites, the actual Israelites, so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans. The only thing they can agree on is that they hate us, right? But in this time, in the end times, they're gonna come to us. They're gonna learn and be like, when they teach the monkeys, or they teach the animals how to do puzzles at a second grade level, right? That's what they're gonna be like. We're gonna be teaching these animals how to be civil, how to live, how to be proper, right? Let's go to Zechariah 9:6. Zechariah 9:6. Bam. It says, "And a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines." So one thing you gotta know is that Ashdod, right? There's two in the Bible. There's one in Israel, and there's one in Hamite territory. This one right here is talking about the one in the Hamite territory, and of course, and end time prophecy. Um, verse 7: "And I will take away his blood out of his mouth, and his abominations from between his teeth." He's going to take away all the rabbit that they're eating, the snakes that they eat. He's going to take that from out of their mouths. "But he that remaineth, even he shall be for our God, and he shall be as a governor in Judah, and Ekron as a Jebusite." Verse 8: "And I will encamp about mine house because of the army, because of him that passeth by, and because of him that returneth, and no oppressor shall pass through them any more, for now I have seen with mine eyes." Right? So pretty much the whole context is there's going to be no more abominable things because they eat abominable things. Let's go to stay in Zechariah, right? A couple chapters up to 14 and 16. Zechariah 14 and 16. "And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all nations," so after everything, after the wars and the seals have been opened, the trumpets have been blown, the vials poured out, after all the death and the crying and all that stuff, whoever's left, all right? "And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, YHWH, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. So not only they're gonna come worship, not obviously not like Yahweh, you know what I'm saying, but they know who's the king, they know who's in rulership. They're gonna have to keep our holy days. And they're gonna have to worship and keep the holy days. Right? But it's not a voluntary thing. It's not something that they might want to do. Like, hey, let's go down to Jerusalem, and let's go keep their holy days with them. No. Verse 17 says, and it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. So they're gonna get cursed. They're gonna get droughts. They're gonna live not good. It's not gonna be good for them. So their best bet, just come do what the Most High said, go back and live, semi-peacefully. Verse 18. And if the families of Egypt go not up and come not, that have no rain, there shall be plague. So it's even like a step further. There shall be the plague, wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. It's as simple as it goes. I don't have to say anything, right? Move on to the next one. Right. Verse 20. In that day there shall be upon the bells of the horses holiness unto the Lord, and the pots in the Lord's house shall be like the bowls before the altar. So this is talking about more Levitical things. The bowls, the altar. Once again, the Levitical priesthood will resume once again. Verse 21. Yeah, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto the Lord of hosts, and all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them and seethe therein, and in that day there shall be no more the Canaanite in the house of the Lord of hosts. So that's more sacrifices being done, seething, cooking of the meats, plates, bowls, things that were mentioned in Numbers and in the Torah, holy vessels, things that the king of Babylon took when he destroyed our first temple. And then God returned the Cyrus, what's his face, the Persians. When the Persians brought the vessels back, it's the same thing. We're gonna get those back in the kingdom of heaven, and they'll be forever. Let's go to Malachi 3:1. Malachi 3:1. Behold, I will send my messenger, right? And he shall prepare the way before me, and the Lord whom ye seek, and the Lord whom ye seek shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant. I forgot to mention this. You see how it says the Lord in lower caps? That's YHWH. The messenger is John the Baptist. Whom ye seek shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant, because you know that YHWH is the messenger of the covenant. Whom ye delight in, behold, he shall come, saith the Lord of hosts. Verse 2. But who may abide the day of his coming, and who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire and like fuller's soap. So it's pretty much saying like who can buck up against him when he comes? Like who's gonna be able to um can't fight him. It's gonna be an easy victory. The the wars and the tribulations before he comes, that's his like what you call it. That's gonna be they're gonna look like they have a chance. You know what I'm saying? Because there's gonna be so much death and destruction everywhere. But then once he comes, it's over. You know, he's taking bodies by himself. It's gonna be easy street. Verse 3. And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi, and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto the Lord an offering in righteousness. So once again, the priesthood put back in place. Verse 4. Then shall the offering of Judah and Jerusalem be pleasant unto the Lord, as in the days of old, and as in former years. So, man, there's more proof of the Mosaic law and the customs, the culture being put back into place, the protocols, the laws being put back in place. They never left, but now we have the governing body to do that little extra. Because right now we cannot eat pork. Right now we can put the fringes on our shirts, have the beards, go out and teach, but there's still certain things that we can't do. But when YHWH comes back, everything gets put back in order, put back in place. So that's the old covenant, right? That's the Old Testament. You know, mentioning things in the future that's the Mosaic law, right? So let's go now to the New Testament, the so-called New Testament, to further prove it. So like I said before, if you don't feel comfortable using the Old Testament because they're complaining about it, they're saying, oh, that's done away, you could always go to the New Testament to prove the Mosaic law still in effect. And it will be in effect in the new covenant that comes with YHWH. All right, so Matthew 26 and 21. It's the book of Matthew, chapter 26, verse 29. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine, until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. So in the coming of Christ, the second coming of Christ, the Passover will be kept. That's when he's gonna drink again with the disciples, the apostles. Because like I've read before in the quote unquote Old Testament, things like the Passover will be kept in the new covenant. So why are we not attempting to keep it now? Let's go over to Revelation chapter 14, verse 12. You know, this is a fan favorite. The Israelites love this one, right? Revelation 14 and 12. Here is the patience of the saints. 1 second. You guys need to take care of your eyesight, because once that goes, you don't get that back. Revelation 14 and 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of YHWH, of Jesus. Right? It's the commandments of God and the faith in Jesus. Simple. The saints. Let's see, Revelation 18 and 1. This is after Mystery Babylon falls. Right? Revelation 18 and 1. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. Because they'll tell you that all animals clean, right? All animals, there's no such thing as unclean and clean. Verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul beast, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Right? So they'll tell you that there's no more unclean or clean. Peter had the vision, but right here it's saying that it hasn't happened yet because Babylon is still here, still active, still doing what Babylon does, Mystery Babylon. So this is the future, and it's saying that there's unclean birds. I'm gonna say those are vultures, because there's so many dead bodies and stuff. But it's just whatever unclean bird that's talking about. Revelation 22 and 14. Revelation 22 and 14. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates into the city. So it's telling you literally, in order to get into the gates of the city, into the new heaven and new earth, into the kingdom of heaven, you're gonna have to be keeping the commandments. All right? And this is John the Revelator talking about the end times. Right? Let's go over to Deuteronomy 28 and 1. Right? Another fan favorite. One of my favorites. Was in the past one. It said, blessed are they that do his commandments. Right? Revelation 22 and 14 said, blessed are they that do his commandments. Deuteronomy 28 and 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. So blessings come. The blessings that happen, we will be blessed if we do his commandments, the same way he said it in Revelation, the same way he says it in Deuteronomy 28 and 1, and other verses. Right? So for the New Testament, that should be enough to show them. There's many more, right? But there's also, if excuse me, if it's like, some Catholics subscribe to the Apocrypha. If you by chance get somebody that subscribes to the Apocrypha, I got some of those too for you. The Blue Letter Bible needs to get the Apocrypha. I don't know why they don't have it. Messing up. Right. Go to 2nd Ezra, chapter 2, verse 40. Second Ezra chapter 2, verse 40. Take thy number, O Zion, and shut up those of thine that are clothed in white, which have fulfilled the law of the Lord. So these people that it's talking about are clothed in white because they have fulfilled the law of the Lord. Let's go over to Revelation 7 and 13, just to see who those clothed in white are. Right? 7 and 13, 14. Revelation 7 and 13. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, What are these which are arrayed in white robes? And whence came they? So he's saying, like, where are these people coming from? Who are these people in the white robes, and where do they come from? And this is obviously end time prophecy. Verse 14. And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. He said to me, These are they which came out of the great tribulation, and have washed their robes, and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Because the blood of the Lamb is supposed to bring us back to the commandments. Wash these heathenistic customs off of us. Wash the culture of these other people. And put righteousness back in our hearts, back in us, right? So the same way it said it in 2 Ezra 2 and 40, the way we got those, Lord willing me, the way the people with the white robes get those white robes is through fulfilling the law, right? Let's go to 2 Ezra 19 and Shalakia. 2 Ezra 9 and 7. Right. 7. And everyone that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith whereby ye have believed. So it's saying law and faith. Keeping the law, having faith and coupling it with the law. It's not a New Testament concept. They didn't start with YHWH. It was always there. Now, but if YHWH is the law made manifest, you should have faith in him, right? So this is just another example of the faith being coupled with the law. I hope that was edifying. You know, my eyes a little bad, so reading's kind of sucks. But yeah. I want to end this by giving so like don't let them tell you that the new covenant, you don't have to keep the mosaic law of the new covenant, because I already showed you it's needed, it's mandatory. And if you're an Israelite, to be honest, you're gonna be doing it even if you don't want to. If you're a heathen, you're gonna be doing it even if you don't want to. Because then you'll get purged, you'll die, and you'll get born into the kingdom. If you're an Israelite, you get a new heart, and you're gonna keep the commandments. If you're a heathen, you're gonna keep going through that cycle. So, but yeah, I'm gonna end this by giving all praises, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh. We do so by Hamshyach Yhwhshi. Shalom, Yeshua.